The infrared signature painted crimson streaks across Burak's neural interface as he crouched in the observation blind, 17 meters above the European ice shelf. 3 juvenile specimens catalogued as E47, E49, and E52 moved in synchronized patterns below, their bioluminescent markings creating constellation-like trails in the perpetual darkness of Jupiter's moon. "Thermal regulation stable," Burak whispered into his comm unit, his breath crystallizing instantly in the negative 170-degree atmosphere. "Cubs are maintaining pack formation. No sign of the alpha yet." Through the titanium-reinforced viewport, he watched the creatures navigate the labyrinth of crevasses with practiced ease. Each one stood roughly 2 meters tall, their silicon-based carapaces reflecting the dim light from Jupiter's massive presence overhead. They were magnificent apex predators, evolved in an environment that should have been lifeless. Burak had been tracking E-Colony 7 for 14 months now, ever since the initial survey had detected complex tool use among the species. The scientific community had erupted. Silicon-based life. Intelligent life. On Europa. But Maya had changed everything. She had arrived 6 weeks ago aboard the Minerva's Hope, a xenobiologist with credentials that made Burak's engineering doctorate look pedestrian. Dark eyes that seemed to calculate probabilities faster than his neural implants. Hands that moved with surgical precision. And a theory that had gotten her exiled from 3 research stations before Europa. "They're not animals," she had told him on her first night. "They're persons." Non-human persons with language, culture, and rights were violating with every observation. Burak had dismissed it as academic romanticism, until he'd seen her with the cubs. Now, his sensors picked up movement. 4th heat signature emerging from beneath the ice. Shelf larger, the patterns on his screen shifted from orange to deep red, the alpha. Specimen. EO1, the matriarch of the colony. 3.2 meters of evolved predator, with neural density scans that suggested cognitive capacity rivaling human baseline intelligence. Burak's heart rate spiked. His implants compensated, flooding his system with calming neurochemicals, but the primal fear remained. The Alpha had never approached the research station before. They'd maintained a careful distance, humans in their observation posts, Europeans in their ice territories. The breach of that unspoken treaty had begun 3 days ago. Burak tracked the Alpha's movement. She wasn't hunting. Her gait was purposeful, calculated. She was following something, scratch marks in the ice, barely visible even with enhanced imaging. The cubs had made them, carving symbols with their titanium-hard claws as they moved. A trail. Deliberately left. "Maya, come in," Burak hissed into the comm, static. "Maya, respond." His tactical display pinged. Movement at coordinates 027. The cubs had stopped at a cluster of thermal vents, the only source of heat in this frozen hell. And there, visible now through his enhanced optics, was a HFY. She stood in her environmental suit, its heating elements glowing faintly. Around her, the 3 cubs sat in a semicircle. She was teaching them. Burak's fingers flew across his haptic controls, zooming in. Maya had constructed something from expedition supplies, a replica of a corporate trap, the kind mining operations used to clear dangerous wildlife from extraction zones. The cubs watched as she demonstrated the pressure plate mechanism, showing how weight distribution triggered the magnetic seals. She was teaching them how to escape. The Alpha reached the edge of the vent cluster. Burak expected violence, territorial aggression, protective fury. Instead, EO1 approached slowly, her bioluminescent patterns shifting through a sequence Burak had never seen before, rapid pulses of blue and violet that seemed almost ... linguistic. Maya turned, saw the Alpha, and did something that made Burak's blood freeze. She removed her helmet. "Maya, nitrogen monoxide!" Burak screamed into the comm, but she couldn't hear. Her suit's communication array lay deactivated at her feet. The European atmosphere would kill her in 90 seconds. Less in this cold, but the Alpha moved with startling speed. She positioned her massive body between Maya and the worst of the thermal vent's convection currents. creating a pocket of slightly warmer air. The cubs mimicked her, forming a living shield. Maya's lips moved. Burek activated directional audio, straining the equipment to its limits. No, you understand, Maya was saying, her words coming in gasps as the cold seared her lungs. The corporations. Coming next month? Full extraction operation. They'll classify you as obstacles to be removed. The Alpha's patterns shifted again. Deliberate complex sequences. The traps are just the beginning, Maya continued. She pointed to the crude replica, then to the cubs. Teach them, teach. All of them. The patterns, the weaknesses. You have 43 days. Burek was already moving, rappelling down from the observation blind with reckless speed. His boots hit the ice shelf, and he sprinted toward the thermal cluster. Emergency medical kit in hand, he arrived to find Maya collapsed in the snow, the Alpha still standing over her. The cubs had arranged themselves in a defensive formation, but they didn't attack as Burek slid to his knees beside Maya's unconscious form. "I've got you," he whispered, fitting the emergency respirator over her face. Cranking the thermal regulator to maximum, the Alpha watched him. In the creature's eyes, clusters of photoreceptive cells that shouldn't work in this darkness, but somehow Burek saw something that shattered every assumption he'd built his career upon: intelligence, understanding, and something else. Hope.io one turned. Her bioluminescent patterns creating a complex sequence that the cubs immediately mimicked. Then she moved to Maya's crude trap and began examining it. Her clawed appendages tracing the pressure plates with remarkable delicacy. Learning. Burek lifted Maya into his arms and began the trek back to the station, his mind reeling. Behind him, he heard the distinctive scraping sound of claws on ice, the Alpha deliberately carving symbols, teaching the cubs the same trail marking they'd used to lead her here, a language, a warning system, an inheritance. By the time Burek reached the station's airlock, Maya's vital signs had stabilized. Her eyes fluttered open as the pressurization cycle completed. Did she ... Maya's voice was barely a whisper. Did she understand? Burek thought of the Alpha, standing in the darkness, teaching her cubs the patterns that might save them. He thought of the scratch trails in the ice, spreading across Europa like neurons firing across a vast, frozen brain. Yes, he said. She understood. And now I understand something too. What? Why you got exiled from 3 stations. He smiled grimly. And why I'm about to make it 4. Outside, in the perpetual night of Europa, the Alpha's bioluminescent patterns flashed across the ice shelf, a message being passed from colony to colony, spreading faster than any human communication network could track. The cubs had left their trail. The Alpha had followed it, and what she'd found was a human teaching them not just to escape the next trap, but to survive the ones that hadn't been set yet. In 43 days, the corporations would arrive with their mining equipment and their clearance protocols. They would find an empty moon and scratch trails leading into the deep ice, into places no human technology could follow, into a darkness that had learned to think, to adapt, to remember. The Europeans were no longer obstacles. They were refugees with a map to salvation, written in claw marks and bioluminescent warnings, taught to them by a human who believed that intelligence, wherever it evolved, deserved a chance to survive. End.